We are live.
Good morning and welcome to the Social Services Committee meeting for January 14th. We are going to begin the meeting this morning with the elections of the chair and the vice chair. So at this time, I'll take any nominations there are for the chair. Councillor Miller.
Well, I was going to nominate Councillor Samwell, but I believe we have to introduce a motion to suspend certain rules, procedural rules.
Yes, so in the social services mandate, it actually states that the committee will determine the length of the term. However, the city's procedural bylaw does mandate that it can only be 1 year unless we waive the rules.
Okay, so I'll leave it to someone else to introduce a motion to waive the rules.
Okay, so that's Councillor McCreary moved it and Councillor Sicoli seconded it. All those in favor?
Motion to waive the rules is to relieve the restriction against the chair and vice chair serving for 2 consecutive terms.
Right. Anyone else want to speak to that? All those in favor of waiving the rules to allow consecutive term? Those opposed? Thank you. So is there any other nominations for chair actually? No. Okay, so that would be acclaimed by Councillor Samwell. At this time, we will take nominations for vice chair. Councillor Bell?
Thank you. I nominate Councillor Miller.
Councillor Miller, do you accept the nomination?
Yes, I do.
Any other nominations? And since we waived the rules for both chair and vice chair, we can proceed with acclaiming that position. And just give us 1 second and we're going to set up to start the meeting.
All right, good morning, everyone. I just wanted to acknowledge that we've received a resignation from Councillor Oakley, and we wish him well, and we'll soon have another representative from the county joining us. Clerk, has the roll been taken?
Through the chair, the roll's been taken.
And are there any declarations of conflict of interest this morning?
Madam Chair, can I just go back to item number 2, roll call? We have appointed Councillor Chambers to replace Councillor Oakley. That was done at a standing committee. So once it's been ratified at council, he'll be taking his place on this council, or sorry, this committee again.
Okay, perfect. We look forward to that. Thank you. Any declarations of conflict of interest this morning? Okay, seeing none. Are there any items that the committee would like to have separated at this time? Noting that 7.1 nonprofit housing development in Dwell is already separated as we have a delegation. Mr. Mayor?
6.1.
Perfect, thank you. And could I get a mover and a seconder to place all the items on the floor? Moved by Councillor Bell, seconded by Councillor Sicoli. Thank you.
The item subject to the vote is the minutes. All those in favor? Carried, thank you.
All right, so we have one delegation on the agenda today. Before hearing the delegation, I would like to remind those in the meeting today that the following rules of decorum as set forth in the city's procedural bylaw apply. No person shall display any sign, banner, or placard in the meeting room other than materials that are, in the opinion of the chair, legitimate audio-visual aids necessary in connection with any presentation made to council. All persons present shall use polite and respectful language, shall refrain from the use of any language or making any gestures that would be disrespectful or offensive. All persons addressing council shall speak only to the subject of the debate and shall not speak to any other subject, and no person shall applaud participants in debate or engage in any conversation or behavior that may disrupt the proceedings of the meeting. I would like to welcome representatives from Indwell, Justin Duward, Sylvia Harris, Mark Wilcock, and Shelby Bosborough, who are here to speak to item 7.1, report 2026-5, nonprofit housing development Indwell. If there are no objections at this time, I'm going to allow for 30 minutes for presentation and inclusive of questions. And then if we don't need to use all that time, we'll do that, but okay. Seeing no objections, I'll have the members come forward and start your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Samuel, and thank you everyone for letting us come here to present today and to share a little bit about Indwell and who we are and our hopes and dreams for Brantford. As said, I'm Justin Duward. I'm a regional director with Indwell. I'm here with some of my coworkers, Sylvia, Mark, and Shelby. I'm hoping to go through some information. There's lots I want to share today, hoping to go through it in about 10 minutes so we can leave some time for questions as well. So just starting out, a little bit about Indwell and who we are. Indwell is a Christian charity that creates affordable housing communities for people seeking health, wellness, and belonging. We know that when we can provide people affordable rents, when we can give them easy access to the supports that they need, and they can be part of a community, we see real solutions to homelessness, and that's been shown time and time again. Our vision is hope and homes for all, and all of our work is informed and directed through our values. So we talk about dignity, love, and hope as guiding us from everything from how we build and design our buildings to the on-site supports and the relationships that we have with our tenant. This idea that every single human being has dignity and worth, that we love them, we want to help them see hope for their future, and we try to live that out in all of our work. Indwell has been around for 50 years providing supportive housing. We've continued to grow over those 50 years, so now we're providing support to over 1,300 tenants in 7 different regions, and we're continuing to expand with multiple projects in development or construction or pre-development. So you can see on the map here where Indwell currently operates supportive housing. What's not on here is some of our newer regions around like Sarnia or Halton, where we're hoping to open programs in the coming year. And you can also see that little open spot on the map in the middle there, which is Brantford and the county of Brant, which we're really hoping to change the color on the map there really soon. I think we're all pretty familiar with the challenge. We have more and more people that are unhoused in our communities. I think I read in the last point in time count, we have 389 individuals that were sleeping rough in the middle of November last year. The affordability initiatives that are out there continue to exclude people that are below the poverty line. And we have a worsening opioid crisis. And our solution then from Indwell, it's really simple. If we provide people with affordable rents and real affordability, so for someone who's on a disability pension right now, you're receiving less than $600 a month for your shelter allowance, and the average market rent is between $1,300 and $1,400 a month in this community. There's a huge disconnect there. So when we talk about real affordability, it's ensuring that we have rents that are in line with someone who has a disability, what they're receiving for a shelter allowance. We match that with on-site healthcare supports. So having on-site nursing, addiction supports, housing supports, things like a daily meal, medication supports, providing easy access to those supports and services. We talk about property management excellence. We want to make sure that we really take care of our properties, and we do really take care of our properties, make sure that they're kept clean when things are damaged, that they're fixed right away. And we do that for a number of reasons. It's part of our values and who we are, honoring someone's dignity of creating places and sustaining places that they're proud to live in. And we also know that when we take care of our places well, tenants are also more inclined to take care of their homes, and we continue to see that. And then the fourth part of our solution we talk about is innovative development, being really intentional about how our buildings are designed. And that includes things like designing to passive house standards, so a standard for environmental sustainability. It also includes things like CPTED, so crisis prevention through environmental design, including those concepts where we have high visibility and the places where our tenants not only just feel safe, but they actually are safe. And that helps not just our own tenants, that helps the community in general to be safer. This image here was adapted from CMHC's housing continuum graphics. So you can see a little bit about where an Indwell program would fit in the housing continuum. So we provide permanent supportive housing. And within that permanent supportive housing, there's a spectrum of supportive housing types. We talk about at the one end, a standard program, and at the other end, an enhanced program. But really what that means is having programs where the supports can wrap more closely around our tenants as they're needed and be able to take a step back as needed. We know that mental health does not, that journey does not flow in a straight line. So having supports that can adapt for where a person's at is really, really important. And because of that, we see real impact. We see real outcomes. We see tenants not only getting into housing, but staying in housing for a long period of time. It's permanent housing. We see impacts on the healthcare system that when individuals are living with Indwell, that they're using the emergency department less, or that when people are using the hospital, their stays are shorter. We see less calls for the police in the areas where we have Indwell programs. And overall, we see our tenants that are engaged with their communities in meaningful ways. That can be volunteering, that can be supporting a neighbor, that can be working, that can be going back to school. Some of our tenants started this really neat program in Simcoe recently, where a group of them goes out as volunteers and cleans up the neighborhood. So we see lots of opportunities where our tenants are giving back to the community in really meaningful ways. Our apartments are affordable and they are beautiful spaces. And I think these images show that. Again, just speaking to creating spaces that we would all want to live and all be proud to live in. We're often asked about how Indwell programs are funded. So funding for construction, there's 4 main pillars for that. Starting out with community contributions, the community donations and grants is typically what starts and drives movement. Municipal grants, provincial grants, often administered through the service manager, as well as federal grants and financing are the 4 main pillars. And then the funding for operating our program, again, 10 to 15% is typically through donations, 40% through the Ministry of Health, 10% through operating grants, and then the final 35% is through rents. So even though our rents are affordable, there's still a portion that goes to helping make sure that our programs can operate. I think the most important and exciting part is talking about Brantford and the County of Brant. So our vision, when we first started this conversation, has been we want to have a real impact on homelessness in the community. And it's important for us that we don't, as we move into a new region, it's not about building a program and patting ourselves on the back and feeling like we did something good. Our goal is to have a real impact on homelessness. So our conversations from early on have been, we want to build 200 units of housing over 5 years and do that over 5 housing communities. And our first project, which we're looking at, is at 452 Gray Street. So in the last few months, we were able to close and purchase on this property, which is currently the home of Friendship House. And Friendship House will continue to be able to operate all their services out of that building there, which we're really excited about. And there's a lot of open space on that land. So what we're imagining and planning for is that we can build 90 to 100 units of housing on this property. That would be 2 housing communities. So using our language, a standard program and an enhanced program on this site. We are currently in the design stages and putting together some concepts, which we hope to have ready in the next month. We'll be doing some community consultations. So we're looking at hosting an event at Friendship House in late March so we can get feedback and share our ideas with the community. Continue to work with the city staff and the planning department over the next few months so that we can do groundbreaking after the summer with the plans to be welcoming tenants into their own apartments near the end of 2028. So I just shared a slide. If there's questions after today people want to ask, there's a way to get in touch. And I'll just close just with saying thanks for letting us be here and present. And I'd love to hear your questions and share any other information we can.
Thank you for your presentation, and we'll start with questions with Mayor Davis.
Well, Justin, what's taking so long? I say that jokingly, and out of deep respect for Indwell. This is a conversation we've been having. I think it started about a year after I was elected mayor, and this has been a conversation that's been ongoing, trying to find a location in Brantford for Indwell to bring its unique supportive housing program. Can I ask you this? So I realize I have to ask you questions. I'll cut off my comments at this point, but how would you compare the supportive housing that Indwell provides? And it's not a fully supportive housing development, it would be a mix, but there'd be a supportive housing component. How is that similar to, and how is that different than what municipalities might ordinarily provide in a municipally owned and managed facility?
Through the chair, there are a lot of similarities in terms of what Brantford is doing. I also think what Brantford is doing is actually pretty unique compared to a lot of other cities. So the supportive housing program that Brantford offers does have a lot of similarities with Indwell's programs. I would say some of the key differences are the on-site healthcare team that is part of what we're providing. Yeah, I'll stop there. Sylviana, if you want to add to that, what makes Indwell different at all?
Thanks, Justin. And through the chair, I think from what we see from other municipal housing providers is that supportive housing component and a very close connection with our tenants through the intake process. It's very robust in terms of evaluating the right tenant for the specific program. We want to make sure that the housing community is thriving. So it's not just evaluating whether that person would be successful in that program, but is it going to make a good cohesive community as a whole? And so I think that Indwell as a nonprofit is able to take a slightly different approach than the limitations that a municipal housing provider has in order to taking people off the wait list there. But at the same time, our programs try to integrate into the waiting list. Our goals are the same as the municipality. We want to reduce those wait lists as much as we can.
My last question for you, because I know there are many other counselors that have some questions for you. What support and assistance will you be looking for from the city, and in particular our social services housing department?
I think we're going to be working with the planning team to make a formal request in the future. But I think from my understanding, the city has approved funding for not-for-profit housing before, and we'd probably be coming back to the city with a similar request.
And we will also, so working on the development application will be really important to have the support from the planning and building department. We need to do a rezoning on this land. So just making sure we work together closely on that would be, and quickly is important. I'm sure everybody's aware of Build Canada Homes as the new federal funding agency that we'll be working with. And there's lots of questions about how that works. So, but making sure we get an application in as soon as possible is something that we're taking, this is a top priority for us, and getting through municipal approvals helps us to have a stronger application as we move that forward.
All right, as I have several speakers in the queue, next it's Councillor McCreary, please.
Chair, thank you, and congratulations on your re-election today. Welcome, folks. It's a pleasure to have your presence with us today. You're highly recommended by the peers that we have in other communities that you provide service to. God bless you. And you are sort of continuing a faith-based program on the site, which has been a church since 1970 something or other. So it's a continuity of the Lord's work, I think. So tell us about what the development is going to look like at what you envision at this stage.
Through the chair, we're in very early concept drawings right now. we just actually met with our design team for the first design meeting yesterday. They have some really interesting ideas that we're going to be running through the team. As Justin mentioned in his report, so we're looking to house 90 to 100 people on the site, but it would be divided into two different programs, which means there would be two different support levels and different acuity levels between those two programs. And that we're looking at designs that maybe are one building or two, depending on different factors. You know, cost is a strong one, but also just impact on the neighborhood, massing, what's the most appropriate for the site. The benefit is that it's fairly large. There's a lot of open space to work with, and we're keeping Friendship House in their current location. So wanting to align with the way their programs currently function while creating a separate housing community. So there's lots of ideas that we're running through, but we're hopefully going to nail down a concept next month and then bring that to the planning department to get their opinion and feedback on all the things that they would have an interest in.
So from the point of view of the resident, it'll be a standard studio or one bedroom apartment?
Yes, that's what we're looking at.
It's fully contained kitchen, washroom.
Yeah, so all indwell buildings have full dwelling units. So yeah, people have their own kitchen, washroom, and if it's a one bedroom, but in some cases we do have studios. And with the studios in the more enhanced program, we do furnish those units.
Yeah, that's a pretty important point if you're coming off the street, I guess.
Mhm.
Excuse me. So in each of the locations, you'll have an area where folks can receive the supports where your staff are on duty.
Yeah, through the chair, all of our buildings have community spaces and several community spaces. Dining areas, computer rooms or libraries, other games rooms or TV rooms. So there's multiple places through the building for tenants to gather and for that support to be provided, as well as office space and meeting space for the Indwell staff to be able to meet with tenants, and as well for community partners to be able to come in and support with tenants that they're also supporting.
But those community partners would only be supporting the folks that live in that building. Is that
Correct?
Understanding. Good. We got into that jackpot once before. Okay, so you're going to start off with 40 folks. The first phase will be a population of 40. Is that what I read in the report?
Through the chair, it'd be 90 to 100. So,
Okay.
and we hope to be in our Build Canada Homes application, put this in as one project, even though it's two programs. And we would hope to start construction on both of them at once. So moving people in all together.
And your expectation is you'll be back to see us for rezoning soon?
Yeah, this spring. We plan to move pretty quickly on that.
Thank you. A long-awaited welcome to Brantford.
Thank you. We're very happy to be here.
Thank you. Moving on to Councillor Carpenter, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Welcome to Brantford. I've been to your site in Woodstock. Is this going to be similar to that site? Larger, mind you, but similar?
Through the chair, yes, there will be some similarities. So the site you saw in Woodstock was Blossom Park. That was what we would define as an enhanced support program. So that would be the one program at the Friendship site or the Friendship House site. And we would also have a separate program, which would be a little bit larger with less support.
Yeah, and you had another program in Woodstock as well, did you not?
Harvey Woods Lofts.
Yes.
Was the program you saw, yeah, and that was a larger building with 80 units. So for the Friendship House site, we wouldn't be looking at a program quite that large because we're already doing two programs on that site.
Okay, and you have on-site supports on a regular basis in your locations. That's part of your standard program. That'd be correct?
That's correct. We have site there every day, as well as having 24/7 on call. So tenants always have someone that they're able to get in touch with. Staff would typically be on site from early in the morning till late at night, with access to on call, and then there would probably be a security portion as well overnight.
Yeah, and your screening process, as I understand it from my visit to Woodstock, showed that you screen the tenants so that there's a good fit within the building and the mix of the kind of tenants you have in the building, so that there's very little disruption. And maybe correct me, you've had very little turnover.
That's correct. Yeah, we're very intentional about building a strong community. So when somebody moves into a building, we also know that has impact on the rest of the community. We're very intentional about how we do our intake process. That'd be working with the city's team through coordinated access and through the existing housing wait lists, but we would still have our own intake process. There's a number of things that it goes through, but really boiling down to, do somebody need the affordability that Indwell's offering, and do they need and they want the support that we're providing? And then we can work before we even move in at setting goals and creating a service plan so that when somebody moves in, we know what kind of support they're looking for, and we can be providing that on day one.
And your Building Canada Homes application, what do you need from the city for support for that? I know
That's a
it's a
great
federal
question.
program.
That's a great question. Actually, so things are changing. We don't actually need our zoning finalized, but in order to apply, the main thing that we're actually looking for is a Class D estimate. Now, there's been some dialogue around the portfolio approach, and we're not sure what that actually looks like in real time. But if we had support from this committee today that we could include in our applications that says the city's behind it, we'll be utilizing some of your existing funding programs. That would be very helpful.
And have you spoken with we have federal members of parliament, some that cover Brant, some that cover Brantford. Have you asked for their support for the application?
We haven't asked specifically for the support, but we would be keeping them informed as we go through that process.
Okay, and one final, Matt, if I may, I know the program, so I've got those answers. The last question would be the support you're looking for from the municipalities, Brantford and Brant. I think it said 10%. Would waiving of the fees be part of that donation or ability for the city to assist you?
Yes, that would be very helpful, and it would go in our contribution in our pro forma that we highlight the municipality's contribution. Absolutely.
Okay, and thank you for choosing Brantford, and this particular site's a good fit. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, and moving along to Councillor Sluss, please. Oh, you're muted, Councillor Sluss.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I thought I had clicked it. Welcome, folks. Good to see you here. Just a few questions. Maybe I should know, but I don't. Are there any families that would be housed here, or are these strictly single individuals?
This project would be primarily single individuals.
Okay. And all the rental is geared to their income, if they have one?
It's not, no, it's not geared to income. All our rents are set ahead of time, but our rents are set at a rate that is in line with what someone would receive on the ODSP, Ontario Disability Pension.
So you do use the rent geared to income, I guess, philosophy. Like you're not trying to charge more than what they can afford to pay, is what you're saying.
That's correct. But everyone in the
Okay.
building would be paying the same amount.
Okay, everybody pays the same. Okay, the 10% operating, I think you had said that would be a grant. Is that a grant annually from the city? Is that the funding source you're looking at?
Typically, our main funding source for operating comes from the Ministry of Health. In some cases, we do have operating grants from the municipality as sort of a stopgap or supplement to that. And as we finalize those budgets, we can keep you informed in that conversation of how that looks. Like, unfortunately, accessing Ministry of Health dollars is very, very challenging. But in the Build Canada Homes applications, they have noted that operating funding is a requirement of approval. So we're very much in conversations right now with the feds and the province on how to align the federal capital funding streams with provincial operating dollars. That is up until now been completely separate process. And so we're hopeful that we can bring them together in a way that we can plan for and predict, which we haven't been able to do in the past. But keeping your staff and this committee informed of that will be something we are happy to do, because we know that we'll be needing to communicate to the province the same message, that they need to come to the table to fund supportive housing.
Okay. Do you source your clients through the city, or how do you build a I guess a work list as far as clients that are potential tenants? Where do they come from?
Through the chair. So we've met with some of the city staff already to start mapping that out. Primarily, we would be accepting names through coordinated access through the by name list, as well as likely working through the existing affordable housing wait list that the city has, if there's individuals that would benefit from the supportive housing. Those would be the primary methods where names would get referred for us.
Okay. And then just finally, I thought I heard in the presentation you provide a meal each day. Did I understand that correctly?
That's correct. In our enhanced support programs, tenants have access to at least one meal every day.
And that's prepared by your staff, or are they given ingredients?
Sorry, that's a meal prepared by our staff and coordinated by our staff. Tenants do have their own kitchen, so then they would typically be responsible for their own breakfast and lunch, so they would get their own ingredients for that.
Okay. I think that's all I have in the way of questions. And again, thank you for coming to the city. We certainly welcome you with open arms, and anything that the city can do to help facilitate, please reach out. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, moving along to Mayor Bailey, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and welcome to the region. I guess you're going to be in Brantford, but you're certainly going to be dealing with us at the county too. I've toured your facilities in Simcoe and Woodstock too, and you people do what you do so well. And my question is twofold. Are you going to have enough room in your site plan to do the community gardens that you do like in Simcoe? Is there room? There's room for all of that? And the second thing is the layout of the common room, the kitchen, where most people hang out. I spent most of a day in Stratford, or I'm sorry, in Simcoe, and they seem to use that center island or that kitchen block just to sort of sit around and lay their days out. And the tenants very quickly become friends, very good friends, really quickly. So first of all, my first question is, do you have room for the community gardens? And second of all, is the layout of the big place to gather, the kitchen, is that sort of in your planning too?
I'll speak first through the chair. I would say yes to both those things. Those were both things on our wish list, although I haven't actually seen the concept designs yet. But at the Friendship House site, they already have community gardens, and they also have a prayer garden. And from early on, we've talked about making sure we keep those in part of our landscape plan. So yeah, that's important to us. And then in terms of the community space, yeah, having a kitchen, having a dining room, having spaces where we can gather is important. We talk about the importance of community, and we see community in action when tenants are in relationship with each other, when tenants are in relationship with staff. Everything goes better. So we focus on building relationships.
Thank you for that, and thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, and moving along to Councillor Miller, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, no, I first heard of Inwell from our former general manager of planning, Pam Dusling, many years ago. So you do come with a good reputation, and I hope you guys maintain it. Following a little bit on what Mayor Bailey asked, how big is 452 Gray Street? How big is that site in acres?
It's about 1.5 acres.
Okay. And on that 1.5 acres, you can keep Friendship House and still build enough housing for 90 to 100 people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Through the chair, yes, we can. We're looking at ways of how to do that, and some of the early concepts have a larger building, But as the mayor was asking around the gardens, keeping the green space, maximizing the green space for both our housing program and the Friendship House is a key priority for that. So we're looking at potentially going, increasing the height to decrease the footprint of the building. But we're looking at right now between 4 and 6 stories.
And I read the report you guys submitted and, or I don't know who wrote it, but you talked about St. Thomas and, you know, there was less police interaction, all that. So there was a lot of good data that come from that. I wanted to ask about the medical. As you know, in the hospital, we have people who are laying there. They don't really need to be in the hospital. They got nowhere to go. And I think if I read it, there's about 8 beds or 8 places that you would have that would be kind of dedicated to medical or nursing, or did I read that right?
Apologies to the chair. I apologize. I'm not sure which part of the report you're referring to. So we are aware that like in the hospitals, they have ALC beds, alternate
Yes.
levels of care. So individuals are there that would really benefit from Indwell supportive housing. All of our tenants in our programs would have access to the healthcare supports that are available, that are there.
Okay, so has it been your experience that you've been able to help with those ALCs in other communities like St. Thomas?
Yes, yeah, in Hamilton and London as well. We work directly with hospitals so individuals can transfer from hospital into an Indwell program.
Okay, fantastic. Because we look at the dollars, but sometimes if you look at the overall tax burden, it tends to break out on the positive when these projects go on. And last question through you, Madam Chair. You talk about disruptive behavior, and I do like the way it's framed. You say eviction is a last resort, right? You try and deal with the underlying cause. I think that's fair. I think that's awesome. But there's always, and you guys know this, there's always a very small percentage of people that underlying cause just isn't what it is. We can't deal with it. And I'll give you an example, like somebody that's dealing fentanyl, somebody that always has weapons on them, or somebody that has violent behavior that just can't be controlled. How does Indwell deal with those individuals?
So through the chair. So internally we refer to this as our tenancy stewardship process. It really starts out with being in relationship with our tenants. When we have a good relationship and we're working together, we can often find solutions when there's problematic behavior. But you are correct. We also need to protect the rest of the community, and everyone that lives there deserves a safe place to live. So our process is starting with relationship. If there's any correction that needs to happen, that's through conversations. If we can't correct that through skill building, through the conversations, there may lead to like a written warning. But we do have the LTB process within our system as well. And we would work within that if we need to move towards an eviction with a tenant. As you said, eviction is always a last resort for us. And even using the eviction process, we can often through that mediate an agreement that works out for the person, either to allow them to keep living here or to transition safely to a place where they get the supports that they need to do well.
Okay, so if they're in that tiny minority, you're gonna look to transition them out of there. Is
Yeah.
what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Okay, it happens. You know what happens, and sometimes it's just the way it is. So okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
At this time, we're just past our 30 minutes. So if there's no further objections, I do have several people in the queue still. So I'd like to extend for another 15 minutes if there's no objections. Okay, seeing no objections, we're going to go to Councillor Bell now, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and indeed welcome. 2 questions. Is there a minimum scale for the build that would be required to support the model that you've got?
Well, yes, there is a minimum in terms of what we'd be looking at to maximize the efficiency around the cost of construction. So we typically look at 45 units as sort of our minimum. However, just qualifying that we do have smaller scale programs within smaller buildings that are more specialized. We have the St. Thomas reference that are working with some of the highest acuity individuals with the highest level of needs. But because the site is larger, we want to be able to maximize the built form in a way that's appropriate for the neighborhood.
Thank you for that. A related question, maybe. What is your capacity to build? And are you at that capacity?
That's a great question. Thank you through the chair. So I actually work on the part of the Indwell family of companies. We actually have 3 different companies, and I'm part of the Flourish team, which is a team of development consultants and construction managers. So we have 16 people on our staff. My colleague Brooke is here with me, as well as another project manager. So the 3 of us are managing this project. So we are very well resourced to take this project through construction. And we've already procured the design team, and they're working hard on that. And then we'd be tendering out the general contractor when we get to that point.
But sorry, I meant more universally. Is there a limit to how many you can build per year? Is that queue already filled up for the next 3 years?
No, it's not. And we are looking, as Justin mentioned, we're looking at doing 5 programs here. So we have a few other sites in mind, as well as we're looking for others, and happy to take ideas around other properties. And we have a lot of capacity in our team, as well as we're in the process of hiring. Indwell has about 1,500 units and expanding into 3 municipalities or regions at this time. So we're in the process of making sure we can meet that and the growing need, both on the project side, but also it's most important on the operation side. So Justin's, hiring his program team, the facility team to manage and operate those buildings.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now we'll have Councillor Kyle, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you. Thank you for the presentation. This has been really informative, and it's great that you're coming to our communities. My question is just with respect to looking at this housing continuum. So your Indwell projects, is your ultimate goal to have the tenants eventually graduate on to different types of housing, or is it designed more to be their permanent home, or is it kind of a combination of both depending on the individual? Just wondering whether the idea is to kind of keep moving people through at some point once they're ready to do that, or whether it is kind of the solution for those folks that meet that criteria.
That's a good question. Thank you. Through the chair, Indwell does provide permanent supportive housing. So it is a permanent home. That's people are able to stay there as long as they want to and need to, as long as they're benefiting from that service. Having said that, part of our vision as well of creating that spectrum of supports is that people do have the opportunity to move if they so desire to a program that better meets their support needs or is in a different location. And that system flow, I think, extends within our Indwell programs, but also beyond that as well. And again, working with the existing housing continuum to support people to move where they can best meet their goals of health, wellness, and belonging.
All right, and moving along to Mayor Davis.
Yeah, my question for you, Justin, and Sylvia, comes out of Councillor Miller's question. And so it's a hard question about hard to serve people. And so there are a very small group of individuals in our community who the shelter system can't really handle them because they have a very severe mental health issue or a very severe substance use issue that makes their behavior very unpredictable and a potential danger to other residents and staff. Would you screen those individuals out of your facility, or would you attempt to take them in and try and help them?
Through the chair, that's a good question. Yes, through our intake process, it is important that we looked at the individual will fit within the community as a whole, and that moving in will allow the rest of the community to be safe and to feel safe. There are individuals that are just not interested in Indwell supports, or their support needs are different than what Indwell's providing. So while I say that I would say that numbers is relatively small. There are individuals that we would say is not an appropriate fit for an Indwell program.
And through the chair, just to add to that question, for those individuals, we would be looking to have an even smaller, more intensive program that is not what we're imagining at this site. So although it is enhanced, we're looking to have that enhanced program be between 35 and 40 people. In our St. Thomas community, there's an even smaller program that is 15 individuals, a higher staffing ratio. They have a higher level of acuity. That is something that we're looking at for Brantford. It just would not be at this Friendship House location.
And how would you deal with someone who has a really severe mental health issue? Say it's almost a psychosis that probably requires institutional care. How would you deal with that individual, or would you?
Through the chair, every individual is different, so connecting them with the right amount of the correct supports is an essential part of someone's transition. From my own experience, I can talk to. We support a lot of tenants that have significant mental health challenges, but by connecting them with the supports, with primary care, with an assertive community treatment team, with the right hospital supports, we see tenants doing very, very well. Often very simple things are really helpful by having on-site medication supports and being able to work with our tenants to make sure that they're taking their medications and they know what their medications are for. Having access to a nurse to talk about what those medications do is an essential part of somebody's overall wellness.
My last question about that hard to serve subset. You did mention that there are some individuals who are living rough, who don't want any help for whatever reason, and don't want to attend a shelter, or they don't even want to attend a supportive housing unit that the city operates. Does your program include an outreach to them to try and open their mind to the potential positive benefits of being a resident at Indwell?
Through the chair, no, typically, primarily our supports are for our tenants living in our building, and our support is and our housing is voluntary for individuals that want to move into the housing, knowing that the supports and the relationships that we're providing are going to be a part of that housing. Also recognizing that again, people's journeys change, so somebody might not be interested in an Indwell program or supportive housing today, but that might change next week. So also ensuring that we have that openness that we can revisit those conversations.
So how will you promote that the program and the potential that and the transitional opportunities that your facility will provide? How do you promote that to those that would consider living at Indwell? To that particular group of people?
I guess maybe a starting point to answer that question is Indwell works within a community. And I think one of the things that our organization does really well is working with community partners. So that's connecting with the city has outreach staff, working with other organizations in the community. So I think what I'm trying to get at the answer here is there's many services and supports in our community. We might be part of having those conversations with individuals that we meet, but there's also community partners that do this, whether the formalized services or also church groups or Rotary clubs or volunteers that are in the community that connect with people as well.
All right. So with that, I see no further questions. So I want to thank you for your presentation. Say that we are looking forward to having Indwell be part of our community, and we'll be discussing the item shortly. Now, could I get a mover and a seconder to put all separate items on the floor? So Councillor McCurry and Mayor Davis, thank you. And any discussion? Oh, call the vote. I was right? Oh, sorry. We're gonna discuss the Indwell presentation project now. Thank you. Mayor Davis, go ahead.
Yeah, I have some comments, but first I'd like to ask a question of our staff. So the mayor's housing plan that was developed 4 or 5 years ago, it has a component in terms of the target number of units over 10 years. It has a component that has a vision of nonprofit housing providers providing, I think it's around almost 300 units. Yeah, 370. So how many units have been built so far through, and we've had various programs to assist and encourage nonprofits to build here in Brantford.
Good morning, through the chair, Mary Musson, Commissioner of Community Services and Social Development. So with the Mayor's Housing Task Force, we were assuming that nonprofits would build 337 units. To date, we have 2 nonprofits that are actively building. We have JC's, who are building 24 units at 32 Bridge Street, and Brantford Native Housing has broken ground and is developing 18 units on West Street. And Brantford Native Housing is also looking at a development at 309 Campbell, but those plans have not come forward for finalization yet. So with Indwell predicting to build 200 units in the city and the county, that will bring us much closer to our goal of 337.
Right. And would we foresee providing the same kind of assistance similar to what we've done with those 2 housing providers? Or we help them bridge the gap between a shortfall in financing or funding for their projects? And we did that in return for getting a commitment on our GI units.
Yes, through the chair, yes, we have started those discussions, and with the other 2 nonprofits, we are funding them $62,500 per door. So for every unit of affordable housing that's built, there's going to be funding flowing of $62,500. So we've started those discussions with Indwell as well, and once they're closer to starting development, we will be bringing a report forward for Social Services Committee consideration.
Just an example, Madam Chair, of the great work being done by our housing staff. And after having been given the guidance and direction of the Mayor's Housing Task Force objective from 4 or 5 years ago, I want to put a big smile on my face and thank Indwell. This has been a long path that we've been having discussions for 6, 7 years. I also have attended several of your other projects or developments. I think you do a fantastic job in helping those who really need, the kind of targeted help that you provide. And so very happy that you're here, that we finally found a property that fits your requirements. And I think it'll be a good fit into our community. And also looking forward, I'm sure staff working with you, trying to find some other locations so that you can continue your success here in Brantford. And we've heard through the presentation, Madam Chair, why is it that Indwell is so welcomed into a number of communities across Southern Ontario? It's because they provide, we've heard of that, supportive, affordable housing with an emphasis on providing people with stability so they can make transitions in their life to improve their lives. And you do it in a really kind of compassionate way that and a real commitment by you and your organization, your staff, to that philosophy, which I think is wonderful. These kinds of programs, we know that's foundational to provide people with a life that has a better health component. And I love the fact you do have that as a large part of your programs. Also the safety aspect, and also trying to make your residents open to what they can do to help the community through all the volunteering opportunities that you encourage them to be involved in. So I very much welcome Indwell into our community, and I think it's wonderful. You're going to bring your expertise developed over many years, your willingness and desire to work in partnership with lots of other agencies, including the city, and the fact that you've got a really long-term commitment from what we've seen in other cities. And as I said, I've said it 5 times, I'll say it again with a big smile on my face. Thank you for finally coming to Brantford. When I say finally, I'm not in any sense blaming you, but it's been a long struggle to find the right place and location for Indwell, and very satisfying that it's finally coming together. And I wish you the greatest of success.
All right, and with that, we'll go to Councillor Carpenter, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I'd echo the mayor's comments. I visited a number of sites, and I didn't just speak to Indwell. I spoke to the residents off-site and it is a community. How Indwell designs things, it's a community where they do support each other and they know each other and they become like a large family looking out for each other as well. And if they have someone who's a problem, they help deal with that as well. So I'm very supportive of what Indwell is doing here, and I'm glad to see that we're finally getting here. I know it takes a while, and the mix with Friendship House is such a good mix in the service because there's food services there, there's clothing giveaways there as well. This is very supportive, and it fits with Friendship House quite well. And it's this Friendship House and keeping going as well. And keep in mind we have the community gardens across the road as well, and we'll have community gardens at Friendship House. This is a good fix, a good mix, and Indwell has got a great reputation across the province in the work they do. So anything we can do to support, certainly if we could get some of that federal funding, if we could get our MPs, I should say, to actually support this by writing letters to the federal government asking to support this funding would be fantastic. Thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor McCurry.
Chair, thank you. I guess the thing to note first and foremost isn't this, it's not really about the building. It's not really about the apartments. It's about the lives that Indwell impacts upon. It helps folks change their lives for the better. It helps folks create a sense of community and make friends that live in the same building, on the same floor, interact in the same garden, I guess. But I think the most notable thing is that you can't pinpoint exactly what impacts you have, but in some cases, I think you actually save lives. You never know that, of course, but I think that truly is an outcome from what Indwell and similar partners in the community do. We're changing people's lives, and whatever the city of Brantford can do, that's a pretty small investment when you consider that big picture.
And with that, we'll call the vote.
All those in favor of item 7.1? Carried, thank you.
Thank you. So now we'll move on to item 6.1, and Mayor Davis, you wanted that separated. You can go ahead, please.
Yeah, 6.1, to help those viewing at home, it's staff bringing to us another housing development as part of what we've just been talking about, the Mayor's Housing Task Force objective. I believe it's 12 units on Colburn Street, right at the intersection of the bottom of the Wayne Gretzky Parkway. This was developed, the concept was originally going back, I think, about 4 or 5 years, when we looked at the fact that we have properties in that area that were expropriated for the BSER and how best to use those properties. So my question to staff is, given that direction or that objective was formulated and developed prior to the Fox Ridge, prior to even knowing Fox Ridge was going to be an opportunity, looking at it now, given what we now know and what our objectives now are and what the developments are the city has in the hopper, does this project still make sense at this time? And this, in any case, no way prejudging it. I'm just wondering, we haven't really taken, I think, a hard look at what else we're doing besides Fox Ridge. And my second part of that question is, does it in any way hamper us or hinder us in developing Fox Ridge as quickly as possible to its fullest potential?
Through the chair, Clayton Payne, manager of affordable housing development. The project at 687 Colburn will fill in a gap that we have for family units and accessible units, universally accessible units. We do have a gap in 3-bedroom units in the city. So this project has always been kind of proposed as a stopgap for a lot of what we can't provide or is harder to provide in our other sites. As for Fox Ridge and it going concurrently, there shouldn't be any issues of them running both concurrently at the same time. They're both two different types of projects, and they have 687 will be a shorter term development. It could be wrapped up in about a year once we have the site plan approvals completed, while Fox Ridge will obviously be a much longer master planned initiative.
That's good to hear. Second question I have for you is, this is not a modular development similar to what we did on Colburn Street West. And now that we're in Colburn Street East, does it make sense to do that, or you just can't do that if you're looking to do 3 bedrooms? What do you say in respect to someone who might say, well, why aren't you doing the modular unit type development?
Through the chair, we can do modular build. The way we will propose it is to see who can give us the most competitive price for the build. If it's modular, they win. If it's not, it might be another form of construction. We do like modular, we see its value. But for this project being such a small scale, it's going to need to be cost competitive.
Thank you. Happy to
Councillor,
support it.
Councillor Sluss, go ahead, please.
Yes, we try and I guess continue to tabulate how many we've built as far as affordable housing units. This is a 12-unit build, but actually 6 of them are affordable and 6 are market rent. So when we're keeping, I guess, score, do we count this as 6 or as 12?
Through the chair, we would count them as 12 because even though we're saying it's market rent, it's affordable market rent. So the rates will never be over the CMHC average market rent for the area. And with the 6 that will be affordable, we are flowing rent supplements to the building. So they will be deeply affordable down to rent geared to income rates. And we will work within the building pro forma as well, so that some families who might be moving into the market rent units, it would be 80% of the average market rent instead of 100%. So we will be looking for solutions even for the units that are labeled as market rent because they will not be true market rent.
Okay, and I guess my other question, I think you based your pro forma on an average of 1.2% inflation. That seems quite conservative. Is that just built in as a safety factor? Because I don't think we're going to get to that level anytime soon.
Through the chair, yes, we do put that in as a safety factor. It's mostly to ensure that our operating costs and any mortgages that we have to cover are safely covered in the early stages. And then once we're able to see 1 year's worth of operating costs, we can adjust after that.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Madam Chair.
And with that, we'll call the question on this item.
All those in favor, item 6.1? Carried, thank you.
All right, with that, there are no resolutions, no notices of motion today. So the Social Services Committee is now adjourned. Thank you.